I never gave music much thought. It was just something people made too big a fuss over. For me, it was just background noise. Something playing in waiting rooms or blaring out of some teenager's busted speaker on the bus. I never got how a song could move someone to tears. How people clung to lyrics like they held the meaning of life. My wife, Sarah, was the same way. At least, she used to be. She was never the type to sing in the shower or belt out a chorus in the car. Honestly, she found those types of people annoying. I remember watching one of those singing shows with her once. This contestant got all emotional mid-song, and Sarah just scoffed. "It's just singing," she said, like she could not believe people got so worked up over something so small. That was my wife. Or at least, that is who I thought she was. Then one day, everything flipped. She came home with this grin on her face, talking about a karaoke bar she had found. Said she got up and sang. I figured she had a few drinks and got swept up in the moment. I did not think anything of it. We all do something a little out of character now and then. But then she went back. And again. And again. Until it turned into a routine. Then came the recordings. She told me about this guy named Vincent, the guy who owned the bar. Said he had a recording set up in the back and told her she had natural talent. Natural talent. I almost laughed when she said it. Sarah? Singing? I had never once heard her hum a tune, let alone carry one. She never cared about music, never tapped her foot along with a beat. And now she was spending hours in some bar, letting a stranger gas her up like she was about to make it big. I should have put a stop to it then. Should have asked questions. But I didn't. At first, I told myself it was harmless. Maybe she just needed a hobby. People hit midlife and suddenly want to run marathons or paint sunsets. I figured maybe this was her thing. But it didn't stay harmless. She started putting more effort into how she looked before heading out. Spent longer on her hair. Wore perfume she hadn't touched in years. What used to be a once-a-week thing turned into almost every other night. And every time she came home, she smelled different. Not just perfume, something deeper. Like guilt with a hint of cologne. I started watching her closer. She never played me the songs she supposedly recorded. Never talked about what she sang. When I asked, she would just say she was still learning. Said she wasn't ready for me to hear her yet. That is when it clicked. This wasn't about singing. It never was. This was about Vincent. I kept quiet. I didn't confront her. I didn't let on. I wanted to be sure. And then came a night that told me everything I needed to know. It was nearly 1 in the morning when she walked through the door. Hair all messy. Lipstick slightly smeared. Shoes dangling from her fingers like she had been somewhere she should not have been. She walked in like nothing was wrong. I just sat there, staring. And she looked at me, hesitant, unsure, like she was trying to read my face, see if I knew. That is when I knew. And that is when I decided she wasn't walking away from this clean. I didn't say anything that night. I let the silence stretch out between us. She fiddled with the strap on her dress, tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, and tried to act like she was tired from singing all night. Vincent had me try a bunch of different songs, she said. I think I'm leaning toward blues. Blues. She had never listened to blues in her life. I gave her a slow nod, like I was actually thinking it over. That right? She looked relieved that I wasn't pushing. Yeah, I'll let you hear something soon, I promise. That was a lie. She was never going to let me hear anything, because there was nothing to hear. Vincent wasn't a mentor. He wasn't coaching her. He was just the excuse she used to keep the guilt at bay. And maybe that was the part that burned the most, not just the betrayal itself, but that she thought I was too dumb to see it. I stood up, walked right past her, and went straight to the kitchen. Poured myself a stiff drink just to keep the anger from boiling over. Behind me, she slipped into her routine, took off her earrings, washed her face, moved around like it was just another night. But it wasn't. She could pretend all she wanted, but something had shifted, and there was no going back. I did not sleep. Just stared at the ceiling, listening to her breathing next to me, slow and steady. Peaceful, like someone who had finally let go of the secret she was carrying. I turned my head, watched her face in the dim light. She looked so calm, almost innocent. If I didn't know better, I would have believed it. But I didn't know better, and now I had a decision to make. I could shake her awake, tell her I knew, demand the truth. But I did not want her words. I wanted proof. I wanted to see it with my own eyes. I wanted to make sure that when I finally called her out, she would have no way out. So I played dumb. Let her think I still believe the act. Because when the moment came, I wanted it to hit her like a freight train. I watched her closely after that. Every step, every move. She clung to her phone more than ever, always face down on the table, always checking it when she thought I wasn't watching. And she started humming. Random notes, like she was trying to make this music obsession look real. But liars always overdo it. The day after she came home late, she brought up Vincent again, acting casual. He thinks I should try singing live during karaoke night, she said while pouring coffee. Instead of just recording, I just nodded, sipping my own cup. That's something you want to do? She shrugged. Maybe. That was a test. She was watching me, trying to see if I suspected anything. I leaned back, pretending to be deep in thought. Well, if you do, I'd like to come see it. That caught her off guard. She froze, just for a second. Her fingers tensed around the mug. Her smile cracked, then came back. Oh, I mean, it's just a small thing. Nothing big. She was scrambling. That was all the confirmation I needed. But I did not push. I waited. That night, she got a message. I was pretending to watch television, but I was really watching her. She was curled up in the chair, phone in her lap. The screen lit up. I saw her lips twitch. Then she looked up, right at me, just for a moment, checking if I had noticed. Then she angled her phone away. That was it. I had seen enough. When she stepped into the bathroom, leaving her phone behind, I grabbed it. Locked, of course. But she had been careless. The notification was still there. Can't wait to see you again tonight. Last time was amazing. Same place. I saw red. My hands trembled. My jaw clenched so tight, I thought my teeth might crack. I almost kicked the bathroom door open right then and there. But I didn't. No, I had waited this long. I could wait a little longer. I set the phone down exactly where she left it. Sat back down. And when she came back out, she picked it up without a care in the world. Typed her little reply. Smiled to herself. Tucked it away. Like she hadn't just exposed everything. She had no idea what I knew. And that was her biggest mistake. By the time the next evening rolled around, my decision was already made. I was not going to confront her. At least not yet. That would be too easy. Too simple. She would just lie, twist the truth, flip the blame back on me like she was the victim. And I was not about to hand her that. No, I needed to see it for myself. I needed the kind of truth you cannot argue with. So I waited. That evening, Sarah started getting ready, just like she had every other time. Her routine was polished now, second nature. Shower, hair, perfume, a little extra makeup. More effort than I had seen her put into anything in a long time. She picked out a dress I had not seen her wear in years, something tight and low-cut, and paired it with heels that practically screamed she wanted someone to notice her. But it sure as hell was not me she wanted noticing. As she stood in front of the mirror, curling her hair, we caught eyes in the reflection. "Do not wait up," she said, wrapping another section of hair around the iron. Might be a late one. Might be a late one. Like she was going out for drinks with old friends. I forced a smile. Flat. Hollow. Sure. Had a good time. She nodded like she had gotten away with something, then turned her focus back to the mirror. I watched her for a few more seconds, then grabbed my keys and started for the door. "Gonna run some errands?" I called out. She barely even looked at me. That was how sure she was. How confident in the little world she had built out of lies and secrecy. She had no clue that the second she left that driveway, I was going to be right behind her. I parked a few blocks away from the karaoke bar, far enough not to be seen, but close enough to keep watch. A few minutes later, her car pulled in. She sat for a moment, checking herself in the mirror, smoothing out that dress. And then, like she had done it 100 times before, she got out and walked straight through the front doors without hesitation. I felt my jaw clench. This was the place. From the outside, it was nothing special. Neon lights half buzzing, paint peeling around the windows, a drunk guy already stumbling outside for a smoke. Not the kind of place you would expect a love affair to bloom. Maybe that was the appeal. I gave a minute. Then I followed. The second I stepped inside, I was hit with noise, bad singing, loud laughter, the smell of spilled beer and stale smoke. The place was packed. A couple of guys shouted off-key into a microphone on stage, and the crowd hooted like they were rock stars. I did not care about any of it. My eyes scanned the room, sweeping past the booths, the bar, the stage, and then they stopped. There she was, Sarah, sitting in a dim corner, angled toward him. Vincent. So that was him, the one who had discovered her talent, the man who was helping her find her voice. He was maybe 5 years younger than me, with that smug look some men wear when they think the rules do not apply to them. The kind who think charm is the same thing as character. And he had his hand resting right on the back of her chair, his fingers grazing her bare shoulder like he had done it a dozen times before. Sarah laughed at something he said, her head tilted back just slightly. Her hand brushed against his. That was all I needed. That laugh. That touch. I saw red. I could have gone over right then. Could have dragged her out of that booth, flattened Vincent with a single swing. But I didn't. Not yet. I made my way to the bar, staying just out of sight. Ordered something I had no intention of drinking. And I waited. Waited to see what she would do when she thought nobody was watching. It didn't take long. Vincent leaned in, whispered something in her ear. Sarah smiled, slow and genuine. Then she kissed him. Not a peck. Not a mistake. A slow, deep, intentional kiss. And just like that, something inside me cracked. My entire world narrowed to that single moment. Sarah kissing him like I had never existed, like we had not built a life together, like our history meant nothing. This was not a first kiss. This was a familiar one. That is when I knew I was not watching the beginning of an affair. I was witnessing something already in full swing. I stood up. My drink stayed on the counter. I walked across the room, cutting through the crowd like it did not exist. They did not see me coming. Not until I was standing right in front of them. Sarah froze. Her smile vanished. Her entire face turned pale. Vincent? He just looked up at me like I was an annoying interruption. Like I was some guy ruining his evening. That smug grin on his face. That was the last straw. I did not say a word. I swung. My fist hit his jaw hard enough to shut down the entire bar for a moment. Chairs scraped, gasps flew, and Vincent hit the floor like a sack of bricks. I could barely hear anything over the roar in my head. Sarah might have screamed. She might have begged. I did not care. Vincent groaned, blood on his lip, blinking up at me like he could not figure out what had just happened. I reached down, grabbed his collar, and slammed him back against the floor. You think this is funny? I growled. You think this is some joke? He choked out a cough. What the hell, man? Are you crazy? Crazy? That lit a fire inside me. I pulled back to hit him again, and then Sarah's hands were on my arm. Stop it, she cried. Please, just stop. But when I looked at her, really looked, I saw everything. Her lipstick was smudged from him. Her hair was a mess from his hands. And even now, she was trying to protect him. Not me. Not the man she had vowed to love. Him. I let go. Let Vincent fall back to the floor, groaning like the coward he was. Sarah grabbed my wrist again, her voice trembling. Let's just go. Please. Let's go home. Home. As if we still had one. I pulled away from her touch like it burned. My heart was still racing, but the anger was shifting, cooling, turning into something colder. Final. I looked her in the eye, and for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt completely calm. There's nothing left to say, I said, and I meant it. I turned and walked out. Walked out of the bar, out of the lies she had built out of her life. I did not look back. The air outside was cold, but I welcomed it. It cleared my head. Behind me, the bar buzzed with noise again. Life went on, but not mine. Not with her. I climbed into my truck, hands still shaking from the punch, from the anger, from the realization that everything I had thought was real was not. I started the engine and drove away, not from the fight, from the wreckage. I sat behind the wheel, engine off, staring out at the quiet street in front of our house. The whole drive home, I kept waiting to wake up, but it was no nightmare. It happened. I saw it with my own eyes. My wife, the woman I spent a decade building a life with, threw it all away for some karaoke bar clown. I laughed. Not the kind that comes from something funny. The kind that sounds like it's been stuck in your throat too long. Hollow. Bitter. Like all the air in my chest had been replaced with smoke. This was it now. My life. My reality. When I pulled into the driveway, the house looked different. Same paint, same porch light flickering above the door. But it felt cold. Like a stranger lived here now. Not me. Not her. Just ghosts of what used to be. I walked inside and slammed the door shut harder than I needed to. It echoed through the emptiness like the walls were mocking me. Everything inside was a lie. The living room where we used to fall asleep during movies. The kitchen table where we ate takeout and talked about nothing. The wedding pictures still hanging up like a joke. I ripped one off the wall without thinking. It was us on the beach, arms wrapped around each other, smiling like we were the happiest people on earth. That smile of mine looked real. I think it was. I had no idea then what she was capable of. How easily she could stand beside me, hold my hand, and still walk straight into another man's arms the second my back was turned. The frame hit the wall with a crack, and glass sprayed across the floor. I just stood there, staring at the mess. Because that's what we were now. Shattered. Useless. I do not know how long I sat on the floor, staring at broken memories. But when headlights lit up the living room curtains, I knew she had followed me. Some part of me expected her to. Another part hoped she would not. The front door creaked open, and she stepped inside like she still belonged. Her face was pale, breath shaky, eyes wide, lipstick smudged. And still, she had the nerve to ask, "Are you okay?" I just stared at her. What kind of question was that? After what she had done, I rubbed a hand across my face and said, "Turn around." She blinked, unsure. "What?" "You heard me. Get back in your car. Go." Her lips moved like she wanted to explain, like maybe there was still a version of this where I forgave her. I held up a hand. Do not. I did not want to hear whatever sorry story she was about to cook up. I had seen enough. She looked toward the frame on the floor. The glass. The picture. "You're angry," she said, like that was some kind of surprise. I laughed low and bitter. "You think?" Her hands balled into fists. I thought maybe she was about to start crying. Or yelling. Or both. But she just stood there. I stepped closer. Voice low. "You do not live here anymore." She flinched. "What?" "You made your choice. You picked him. Now you live with it." "Please," she whispered. "Just let me explain. I was going to tell you." "No. You were never going to tell me. You were going to keep lying until I caught you. And now that I have, I want you gone." Her face twisted up like she was about to fall apart. It wasn't supposed to go this way. I shook my head. "No kidding." She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "I still love you." Once, those words would have meant everything. Now, they meant nothing. I turned and walked down the hallway. "Lock the door behind you." I never looked back. I could hear her standing there, shifting her weight, probably trying to decide whether to follow or finally admit it was over. She did not knock. She did not say another word. Then I heard the front door open and close. And just like that, she was gone. I sat on the edge of the bed, waiting for the flood of emotions to come. The anger, the sadness, the heartbreak. But none of it hit me. Just silence. I had spent months watching her disappear. Watching her laugh less. Talk less. Look at me less. I tried to convince myself it was stress. Work. Life. Something fixable. But it was not. It was Vincent. It had always been him. And I had been blind. I ran a hand over my face and stared into the mirror. I looked different. Worn down. Older. Like I had not slept in weeks. But I knew I had done the right thing. The only thing I regretted was not catching it sooner. The next morning, I woke up with sore hands and a pounding head, but I got up anyway. Because now it was about clearing the rest of her out of this house. I grabbed a box from the garage and headed to the bedroom. I did not take my time. I did not stop to smell her perfume or run my fingers over her clothes. I just packed. All of it. Her dresses, her shoes, her little necklaces, her lotions. Gone. The wedding album? In the box. The notes she used to leave on the fridge? Tossed. Every reminder of her. Erased. When I was done, there was no trace of her left. I picked up my phone, found her name, and sent one last message. "Your stuff is boxed. Come get it. After today, I never want to see you again." I hit send without hesitation. An hour later, she pulled into the driveway. I opened the door just enough to see her face, then pointed to the box sitting on the porch. She hesitated, hands at her sides, like she might ask to come in. But she must have seen in my face there was nothing left to talk about. She bent down, picked up the box, and stood there holding it like she was trying to come up with something meaningful to say. "I never meant to hurt you," she said softly. I gave her a flat stare. "And yet you did." She nodded slowly, turned to leave. She started, but I shut the door before she could finish. That was the end of it. No more talking. No more lies. No more Sarah. That night, I sat alone on the couch, a cold beer resting in my hand, the television turned off, and the whole house wrapped in silence. It was a silence I had not felt in years, not the kind that comes from loneliness, but the kind that comes from peace. The kind you only notice when all the noise, the lying, the sneaking, the pretending is finally gone. I looked around the living room. Same furniture, same walls, same dim lamp in the corner, but it did not feel the same. It felt different now, lighter, like the air itself had shifted, like I had been holding my breath for months and finally let it out. The truth was clear, my marriage was over, but somehow I was still standing. I had lost a woman I once thought I would grow old with. That part hurt, sure, but in losing her, I found something I had not felt in a long time. A quiet kind of freedom. The freedom of not having to wonder where she was. The freedom of not reading between every line, watching for signs, listening for lies. The freedom of knowing that I was no longer being made a fool of. And that freedom? That was worth more than anything she ever gave me. So I sat there, took a long sip from my bottle, and let the silence wrap around me like a blanket. I was not broken. I was just beginning again. And this time, I will make damn sure I got it right.